Yep, going.
Okay, so, hi everybody. My name is Blaise. I'm a small part of Busybird Publishing. We have Kev up the back who was on the door. If you haven't met him, Les with the beanie up the back. He's going to be the mean timer. So, we're going to go, we've got, I don't know, almost 20 readers, which I think might be a record. So, we're going to go 4 minutes. But Les, can you... Oh, we've had a spillage. At 3.5 minutes, can you do the first warning? And then at 4 minutes, that's when people have to... Ding, ding, ding. We might have to get that. So, welcome everybody. What number are we? 33?
Yes.
Open mic night number 33. We're getting old, aren't we? So, without further ado, I'm going to just pick someone at random. So if you thought you were first or last on the list, you're wrong. I'm going to start with Gina.
Oh, God. Go, Gina.
Do I get you reading? No, that's okay.
Good evening. This is a rhyming verse called Lessons. Mum told me it was coming, that life at home would change. There'd be a new arrangement, and at first it might be strange. But I had just turned 7, far too young to take a stand. They brought it home from Tokyo, brand new baby grand. Mahogany is wrong, Mum said. I know I ordered black. But Yamaha said, no way it's going back. So decor was adjusted, a discount was arranged. My tiny fingers flustered. I thought my mum deranged. I couldn't make it work. The music wouldn't come. I pushed the white keys, prodded black. It all just sounded dumb. My toes stretched to the pedals, sustaining an effect. Long notes, short notes, one note, lots. None of it correct. Good news, announced my mother. I thought, yay, she sold it on. But her idea was another, not to see her baby gone. I found a piano teacher. She'll show you how to play. To master it takes years and you'll practice every day. I want to hear Beethoven, I fancy for release. And how about some other stuff, a Bach or Mozart piece? My favourite band was ABBA. I liked songs on Sesame Street. They weren't played on piano, but they sounded pretty neat. I tried, I cried, I lied, and died to stop piano's spell, until our neighbour Elsie came and played our baby well. My eardrum pulsed with harmony, her fingers danced along. Our big brown hunk of timber came alive with Elsie's song. Music lifted in me and took me from the room. I was 7, and in heaven I had to play, and soon. I'll teach you, if you promise me you'll try to do your best. Your fingers are still growing, but I'm sure they'll pass each test. Not every little girl can play a lovely baby grand, but if you come on Wednesdays, I have your lessons planned. Elsie's tidy upright, dressed the sunroom out the back. The indoor plants were deepest green, the daylight like a smack. She put my thumbs on middle C and showed me how to sit. Straight back, loose elbows, fingers curled, before one key was hit. Notes A to G were studied first on right hand, then with left. Sheet music soon unmuddied in the bass and treble clef. Elsie coached me in the pieces I played to pass exams. I loathed the frantic pressure, but came out clapping hands. The music grew more complex and pulled me through the years. Verily, said through my mother, where most were bored to tears. My hand spanned past an octave. The pedals held my toes. The piano was my partner when, beside me, Elsie rose. Now, I must go to Ireland to see my mum Siobhan. So here's a piece to practice. You can learn it while I'm gone. It's always been my favourite. I know you'll love it too. It's not too hard, but more about the way you feel it through. It's Chopin at his finest, the piece with which I've grown. I hope you'll find a secret way to make this one your own. 'Cause I'll be back one day, my girl. Gotta push on. Not very much longer, everyone. 'Cause I'll be back one day, my girl. Lost my spot. To hear what you have learned. Your lessons are soon over. We need these tables turned. You've played my Wednesdays into joy. I've shown you all I know. The time is right to shine your light. Let music in you grow. You'll play a salon concert on your lovely baby grand. I'll say my work is done. I'll let go of your hand. Elsie took a jet plane to her home a world away and bought a ferry ticket to ride across the spray. Some say the captain faltered, the reason never found, but the ferry paid the levy and the lovely Elsie drowned. Oh. Do you want a couple more verses, Sarah?
No.
Okay. Susie. Susie's going to read a short story, which is the prologue to In the Valley of the King.
The book's finished. It's going to be published. I want you all to buy it. Yeah, no pressure. Just buy it. Okay, the prologue. This is the prologue to the book. The old lady stood in the bag and looked around. She had absolutely no idea where she was, but she was used to that. Sometimes she found herself in someone's house, once in a cupboard, another time on a ship. That was the beauty of it. She was just transported, somewhere, sometime, somehow, or another, without any clue where she should turn up. This time she was on a train and she seemed to be in India or somewhere in Asia. Who knew? Boss tended to them. Smoke streamed from the engine, threw its ashes up and covered the carriages that rattled behind it. Her attention was taken by the sound of coughing that came from the roof. She looked up. All along the train, groups of people clung to the roofs of the carriages. A small brown face dropped down and filled the window, upside down, hair hanging down and blowing in the wind. Small brown hands clung to the side of the window and a smiling boy greeted her. Namaste, madama. He surprised her. Normally she was invisible on her trips, but of course she'd stepped out of the bag, looked out of the window, become part of the surroundings. She recovered her composure. Namaste, boy, she replied politely, and brought her hands together in a prayer position. A scream of Hindi issued from the roof of the carriage, and the boy was dragged up by two pairs of rough hands. Tickets, please! A man's voice was carried up the corridor. She glanced out. The inspector was only a door away. Normally this wouldn't have been a problem, but now she was visible, and she didn't have a ticket. She had only a few minutes to get away. Darn it, I'd have liked to have stayed longer, she grumbled as she opened her travel bag. She stepped inside, took a small piece of paper from her pocket and dropped it into the bag. For a moment, she was bathed in light. Then, just as the carriage door opened, she and the bag disappeared. The inspector froze. The breath stopped in his mouth. The hair stood up on the back of his neck. What was that? He stepped back, shut the door, and moved quickly to the next compartment. Back in her small house, the old lady giggled to herself and made a cup of tea. 2 more sentences. Chapter 1. Everything changes the day before my 15th birthday when my grandma turns up unexpectedly. The door rings, I open it, and there she is in a grotty black dress. Oh my God, what does she think she's wearing? Before I can even finish the thought, she goes, Tiffany! And pulls me into this enormous hug. So we both nearly overbalance on the doorstep.
Thanks, Susie. That's the plan. Len is going to read a poem. Now this is Len's book. Yeah, maybe you can tell us a bit more about this one and the next one.
I'm sort of reluctant
nothing to sell books, but it is there, you can buy it. It's a lifetime's work, that one, basically. The next one, Blaise is publishing, and it goes to the printer very, very soon.
Tomorrow.
So hopefully that'll interest people as well. I have two poems tonight. Both are from my sister. First one is called Anne. The soft susurrations of the wings of angels surround you. In the peace of quietness, the old woman joins the mother, who joins the child. All your days are gathered together, and again you become complete. The second one is called After You. As morning dawned, I walked the sands, listening to the softness of waves caressing the shore. Inside, I was weeping. You have gone, gone, simply gone, vanished within the whispers of your footsteps gathered by these sands. My eyes, drawn into the morning sky, caught the glance of sunlight, shaping the promise of this day's beginning. And I remembered. I remembered our other days. Children by the shore, laughing, splashing, finding seashells with our toes, flying with the gulls, sand dune running. Sister, brother, brother, sister, sister, brother, together. Children living in each moment without care. Tracing glimmering gossamer patterned reflections of my footsteps, an echo of light touched, and vision transformed. And I saw your footsteps with mine, and the light of your eyes caught me, and the touch of your hand caressed me, and I smiled. I knew you walked before me, as I knew I walked after you. In this morning's awakening, I knew we walked as one.
Thank you, Len. Unfortunately, Len lost his sister recently, so that's tribute. And no one who writes poetry or anything and publishes it should be reluctant to sell it, because the more people you get your writing in, more of your writing that you get into people's hands, the better. That's why, isn't that what we do? We're trying to share ourselves with other people. So I always tell people, if you publish, you should always have a book in your bag, car, boot, whatever. Have them on hand, because when you talk to people about what you've got, what you've done, they're really keen to see it and probably would want to buy a book off you. Paula, where's Paula hiding? Paula's got a short story called Finally First.
My life is made up of seconds. Not first, not last, just seconds. I'm always runner-up. Never get the top mark in class, second. Not first in sport, second again. My basketball team has never won the grand final. We keep getting beat by Layla Hoops. They've been pummeling us forever. Even with looks, my best friend Deirdre, long-legged, blonde, stereotype of beautiful. Me, I'm not blonde, and my legs get lost at the knees. Yep, I'm a permanent second. That is, until just beforehand, when I got my first. Deirdre and me were hanging out at the back of the toilets block during lunchtime, discussing the biggest problem we've had, and it isn't me coming first. So, Erin, what are we going to do about them? But I don't believe that. I don't know. I reckon the Freaky Five fixed her up. She's probably gathering dust down some basement, but I'm not going to be the one to find out. Don't look. So, of course I look. It's the Freaky Five. We press our backs into the brickwork of the toilet block. So hard I can feel the cold eat its way through my jumper and into my back. So hard I reckon the grey from the bricks was transferring through onto my skin. It did no good. What are you looking at? Head Freaky Five Alicia came up close and pushed her face into mine. I wanted to say, hey, get out of my space, but I didn't. As usual, I said nothing. Well, I kept quiet, knowing if I said nothing, she would get all mad and call me a liar. And if I challenged her, she would belt me into next week. I tried to get a look at Deirdre. 2 other freaking fives had her cornered. Got some money? Alicia demanded. It would have been easier for me if I had, because I could hand it over and she would go away. But I was broke. Not even a 5-cent coin. No. Don't go lying, you reject. I tried to sink further into the wall. It was coming. I knew it was coming. I'm not sure how it happened, but all of a sudden I pulled myself out of the wall. I was fed up of being hit on by this creep. I stood up tall. Well, let's say I stood up taller, because at 5 foot you don't stand too tall. Liar. She pushed her face closer to mine. Then it happened. If she didn't believe me, my pain was unbelievable. I closed my eyes as blood from Alicia's nose spurted onto my face. She was screaming louder than me. I kept my eyes squeezed tight against the pain. I'm feeling like my head's going to split in two, right down the middle. My brains would pop out and slide onto the ground. She broke my nose, broke her nose, someone yelled. Footsteps and voices came from everywhere, rushing in from all sides. A whistle went off in my ears. All of the other noise stopped. Maybe everyone had gone, but as I opened my eyes I knew it wasn't so. Only one person had a whistle and used it like that. Oh no, we were in deep trouble. Miss Macaulay stood there, hands on hips, staring down from her great height at us. She's the tallest woman in Melbourne, maybe the whole world. Plays basketball for Melbourne Pythons, the #1 team in the state, and she takes no prisoners. Yep, we're in trouble.
That's a cliffhanger. You'll have to carry that on next time. Thanks, Paula. Marcello, you ready to read? You weren't nodding off, were you?
Huh?
You weren't nodding off, were you?
Sorry, where am I?
Marcello has just had some major surgery. That's why he wasn't here last month. But he's back, and did you bring your award?
I've got another one. Right?
Oh, well, you can tell us about that.
No. Actually, I'll tell you about it. On Monday night, after 70 years being on the board of Multicultural Arts Victoria, I decided to call it a day. And it was anticipated, actually. And the Minister for the Arts in the also got another 4.5 years, Martin Foley, spoke nicely. But I had a big surprise that a former theatre colleague of mine, she recited a poem from my book. I was going to read something else, but then I thought about it, and amongst many other things that I've done in my life, I've done some strange things. But at one stage I was writing poems as if I was a woman, on the female's perspective. Because, you know, sometimes, like, I write my poems, conversation with a drawing. So what a better way of telling a story on the female side if it's told by a female. So, and this is based some events that took place years ago on the island where I come from. A little island of Nostra, and in 2 or 3 months' time I'll have another exhibition of my work that I'm working on at the moment, which is called Continuum, which is a continuation of my journey. So this is part of the journey there. And it's called Spellbound. Through tall grass to the world's edge, I walk where coastline careens to a restive sea below, the volcano, that hulk fuming against a torch-red sundown. I climb its black back, my feet trembling on the cone of tuff and cinder, the smoke curling from earthen openings. And from the volcano's peak, javelins of flame pierce the sable sky, firing smoky clouds fluorescent orange. I lay my body on the rocky soil, transfixed by the luminous heavens, when a wayward star plummets past me, blazing a blue-white trail to the sea. That's the other side. Like a brass key cut for a steel lock, he approaches me. Hazel eyes velvet, horse-like nostril flared. He strikes my shoulder with a small, insistent breath. My breast swell, their flesh electric, blood unleashed, charged particles that circuit from him through me and back through him. Each entry to my body drawing inward, clenching, quivering, opening, till deep in the recess of my core, a rusty latch unlocks. Stay up here with me all night, here, on the edge of the world. Little one. They undress back to back by the bedroom hamper and shimmy past each other, down the narrow old white to prepare for bed. She washes up at a sink. Here it is, their two vanities divided. When he reaches for a towel, his arms grazes her right breast. A wet left hand reflects to touch the breast, where his ready lips once hungered. He turns away, then pivots, reminding himself to kiss her. Their teeth clash through half-clenched lips.
Shell. This is the first time for Shell.
Oh, yeah.
So this is an oral history. I'll let you explain what it is.
I'm doing this, everyone, because I'm terrified. I really need some alcohol. Wait,
There's plenty.
I was studying a couple of years ago, and I had to do an oral history subject where I took life recordings of people's life history, and this is an excerpt of my Grace Cosmetics manager and a part of her life story. The last part of which I turned into a poem. I'm very nervous.
We're with you.
So it's a little bit about leaving her husband, her second husband. And my question was, tell me why you went into the second marriage. And Sandy says, do you know what? That's a really good question. Actually, it's a really hard question because I really don't know the answer to it except for the fact that he would sweet talk me into everything. He was a controller. Okay, so that's probably, he controlled everything. But you see, when you're living in a situation like that, you don't realise, and these things just creep up on you. I was manipulated 24/7 in that marriage as to whether I could be sick, whether I could have my hair cut, whether I could look too good, look too bad, have friends over, be late home. It didn't matter if he got home at 1:30 in the morning. I was home at 6:05. He was on the doorstep. Where are you? So he was a total controller. And by nature, I'm a very soft person by nature. However, I know that I have a very strong inner core that runs through me because of things I've had to do. So I guess that was it. In fact, I actually didn't realise how bad it was until I met a girlfriend. And one night she said to me, Sandy, why are you in that marriage? She says, there's nothing between you at all. And she literally sat there and told me everything about my marriage that I had never admitted to myself. And so from there, I actually began to look at what I was doing. And I began to change. And that's what he really didn't like. And the more I began to change, and the harder he tried to pull me back. And I began to realise that that was what he was doing. He was a gambler, so he had an addiction which was very, very, very stressful to live with. Anyway, He always had to borrow money, to pay off money, to borrow money, to pay off money. It was a continuous bad cycle for the whole 10 years. And I always seemed to be bailing him out at some stage. Anyway, there is always a straw that breaks the camel's back. And we had to borrow money yet again to pay the mortgage alone. And I said to him, you have literally just destroyed this marriage. And this is where the poem begins, which is a scene of her leaving the house. I said to him, you have literally just destroyed this marriage. It just went over the top of his head. He didn't take it to heart. Oh, she'll be right when she wakes up in the morning. That was the attitude. I wasn't. It took me about a year to think about it, to pluck up the courage to leave him. The one good thing I did, I never talked to him about it. I knew that he would sweet talk me out of it. Well, you can have this and you can have that. He would promise me everything and give me nothing. So I never told him, I didn't tell my mum, I didn't tell my children. One friend knew. So one night he was at the races and I packed up the things that I wanted and I left. Just like that. He had no idea, no idea. My cat was sitting on the floor. She knew what I was doing. I looked down at her, she looked up at me, and I thought, if I bend down and pick you up, I will not be able to walk out of this house. I left her there, and I knew that she knew what I was doing.
Thanks, Shell. You did really well. Did you do well? I forgot to say at the start that Kev is actually recording all of the readings and they will go up on YouTube. So if you don't want him to put you up on YouTube, please let him know. Maybe some comedy. Maybe some stand-up comedy. This is all Les's fault because he had suggested stand-up comedy, hadn't he? Yes.
Very nice to blame Les going, take it out like that.
Don't stand up and do comedy. I'm gay. I mean, I'm not gay. My name is Gay. For those who don't know me. And people that don't know me, I just would like to explain that if you see my hands flapping around like a couple of fish, it's just Parkinson's. I promise you I won't fly around the room. Tonight, as I was getting ready, I noticed I had my jumper on inside out. And I thought, well, that's just typical of me, so perhaps I should do some wardrobe malfunctions to talk to you about tonight. The first one happened in Barcelona. We were going to look at Gaudi's cathedral and there was literally hundreds of people walking down the path. And unbeknown to Robin or I, we walked on a grate. And when we walked on this grate, my dress took off, straight up in the air, hanging from the shoulders. And I didn't even have nice undies on. And I'm saying to Robin, I've lost control of the dress, I've lost control of the dress. And he's pulling it down one side and it's shooting up the other side. And it's up the other side. And everybody around us was having an uproarious laughter about it. So that's one malfunction. The next malfunction was a friend of mine at work. We went down to the post office in Melbourne to get some mail and etc. And it was pouring rain, so I had to take my umbrella. And umbrellas and I have a very rocky relationship, really. Lots of things have happened with my umbrellas. But this particular day, I had my yellow umbrella and it lost its nice little buttons on the end, you know, it had very sharp ends. We're standing in line waiting and all of a sudden I moved forward and my umbrella, which was over my arm, didn't come with me. And I stopped and I turned around and this man had my umbrella poking through his fly. And he couldn't get it out. And he's going... And I thought, well, what can I do? I can't offer to help. So I stood there with my arm back like this and let him sort it out. The friend I was with left. He couldn't stand it any longer. And then there's the other one, other minor dress malfunction, when the husband and I were in the bathroom this morning and we heard a strange noise, and then we said, I reckon that's a hot air balloon. So we raced down through the house and raced out, and we got a veranda out the back, and we went out to the veranda, and just down there was a shed, and here over the shed is hovering a hot air balloon. Enormous thing, and we all stood and stared, and I thought, well, what's the matter with everybody? Why doesn't somebody say hello? So I put up my hand to wave, and I happened to glance down and I was in my bra and undies. Which was very embarrassing, as you can imagine. So they're most of my wardrobe malfunctions. I think they're not quite as bad as my getting ready in the morning. I think my makeup takes longer than getting dressed. I worked out the other day that if I live to 78, I'm going to have to start the night before putting my makeup on. Because with half an eyebrow here, I have to sort of work the eyebrows. That takes me forever. And I have red nose that I have to pile the makeup on. It does take me an awful long while to get ready in the morning. I don't know whether any other women have the same trouble. And men just get up and brush their hair and they're ready, aren't they? I think I might leave it at that.
Thank you, Kay. Belle, the comic. Is going to read Powdered Water. I'm not sure if it's short story or yes. I know, another first timer.
You know, I had this spiel when coming up here that I thought, this is going to be a bit of light-hearted fluff, but I'm feeling a bit deflated after that. So anyway, I'll push on. It's called Powdered Water. When Eleanor asked if his wit came easily, Byron just stared. He'd never thought of himself as particularly witty. He wasn't even sure he understood the meaning of the word. His gaze flicked round the group. Pens paused mid-comment. A trio of silent mannequins peered back. Ears burning, Byron thought he should at least thank Eleanor for the compliment. Caught between smile and grimace, his reply began as a garbled ugh and ended in a throat-clearing cough. Eleanor blinked, showed him her teeth, returned to her dissection of his senru. Dinner time again. 3 golden heads collide. Puppies have no brakes. Cute, she said. 3 noddy dog heads bobbled in agreement. But she went on. There's no juxtaposition. Week 2, and already her poetry sub-major assessment confounded him. Byron nodded, pretended he understood. On the way home, he purchased the fatter of the 2 dictionaries at the nightstand. His next piece showed a definite improvement in style, if not content. The mailbox, another harbinger of rejection. The focus is too narrow, Eleanor said. Only another writer would appreciate the context. Not even a phantom smile this time. Byron went home slump-shouldered. He discovered something unexpected. He liked the idea of being funny. If his own work couldn't do it, perhaps he could borrow his favourite joke, the one about powdered water. He didn't think Eleanor was old enough to remember Stephen Wright, but what if she recognised the punchline? For days Byron moped, agonising over some other way to make her laugh. The answer arrived accidentally by way of a mugging. Disgusted by the $2.65 in Byron's pockets, the assailant snaffled his victim's good leather jacket. He also took exception to Byron's t-shirt. On the front it read "Gun Reform" in bold red lettering. On the back, because who ever heard of a drive-by stabbing? Once Byron's knife wounds healed, he returned to the poetry group. Everyone stared at him guppy-faced as he relived each moment in excruciating detail. When he finished, Eleanor roared with laughter. How ironic, was all she said. Byron could think of nothing to add.
I forgot to mention that Gay's poetry book is here as well, and I think Gay is close to working on her second volume of poetry. Thank you for that, Belle. Doreen. I don't know if I met Doreen. Hi Doreen, come on down. Another you. Doreen has a short story called Tumor. Is that it?
Evening, everyone. Yes, I'm going to read you a story called Tumor. It's part of a collection of short stories, a collaboration with 9 women. So it was recently published as a collaboration with other women, and they have their stories in there. I have my short stories in here. And yeah, it's called Chuma, and Chuma in my language means wealth, and they also give it as a name. So I'm going to read from one of the chapters in there. Okay. The year was nearly at an end, and Chuma made her way down to the river with her mother. She held a wreath in her hand as she had come to say goodbye to Kuda, her eyes swollen from the previous night's crying. Once at the river, she knelt down and placed the wreath onto the water, and as tears rolled down her cheeks, she whispered, "Goodbye, my love." She remained there kneeling in silence, praying inwardly to God for strength and healing for her broken heart. Then she and her mother made their way home. Chuma decided to go for a stroll to the market square, thinking it might be a good distraction for her. At the market, she noticed a number of new stalls, which made her realize that she hadn't been to the market square in a while. One store in particular was bigger than the rest. It was very colorful like a rainbow, hence its name, Rainbow Shop. Chuma loved bright colors and found herself smiling for a moment. She decided to join the shoppers who were mostly women. The shop was stocked with all kinds of goods. Chuma noticed a wide selection of trinkets, beads, and such. She saw a necklace she liked very much, which had stone-shaped decorations surrounding it, colored in transparent red. As she was reaching out to remove it from its hook, someone else grabbed it. Chuma's eyes widened, seeing that it was Ade who was holding the necklace. She sighed. "Please go away. Must you irritate me at every turn?" Ade apologized. "I'm sorry, Chuma. It wasn't my intention to come over here and upset you. I noticed you staring at the necklace and decided to bring it down from the wall for you. It was hanging in quite a high place." "Thank you, but I'm quite capable of helping myself." Ade handed her the necklace. "You can have it for nothing." Chuma shook her head. "I'm not about to let you pay for it. Why would I allow you to do such a thing for me? You are neither my father, no brother, no husband, no anything else in between." Ade stood there in silence, looking at her with his arms folded across his chest. Chuma was surprised by his silence. She took him for someone who always had a response to whatever was said to him. Ade bit his lower lip, then turned and walked away. As he did, she heard one of the shopkeepers address him as boss, while she would be accepting his advances in the afternoon. What a silly, insensitive man he was, she thought. 4 months later, Chuma and her mother were working in their field with hired helpers. It was a bumper harvest. They had produced so much healthy maize. Most of it would be dried and then later shelled off the cob and taken to the grinding mill to be ground into flour, which was called mealie meal. Mealie meal was used to cook their staple food called shima. It was around lunchtime, and Chuma and her mother were seated on a reed mat eating. The hired helpers sat scattered across the field on separate reed mats having their lunch. Thank you.
Have you got more copies of that book with you, Doreen? Okay. That's another cliffhanger, so maybe next time you could read some more. Thank you. I needed to mention a couple of things. I don't know if I've mentioned this before, but I'm the president of the Society of Women Writers. I wasn't telling you that for a particular reason, except that I have organised, we have a monthly meeting in the city, And I've organised for Maxine Benaber-Clark to run a short story writing workshop. So not this Friday, but the next. It's open to men and women, it's not women only. And it's only $20. So if you are wanting to hang out with someone who is really in demand at the moment, luckily I booked her in last year, because otherwise I'd have to pay 3 times the price now. So that would be a really amazing workshop if you can get into the city on a Friday. It's a really short walk from Flinders Street Station, so let me know if you want to know more details about that. We also have, Les is running a 12-week course on novel writing. It has started, I think we're up to about week 6 this week, Les, 5 or 6. But you can come to individual classes if you like. Because every week Les covers a different thing, like I think dialogue is this week, last week was characterisation. So there's different aspects of the novel. So you can actually come to individual classes if you want to. So let us know if that's interesting. There's little dates on here. We also have, this weekend, we have our writing retreat up at Karma King Lake. Gay came to this a couple of years ago. We have 1 spot left if anyone is interested, so have a chat with me if anyone wants to come to that. 28th of May, so Saturday week, I'm running a life writing workshop here, which is a 3-hour workshop. So there's information about that too. If anyone isn't on our mailing list and would like to get our newsletter, there is a sheet up on the table there if you'd like to put your email down. We don't inundate you with lots of different emails, it's really just our newsletter. That's enough of the ads.
When's the next?
The next
session?
Yeah,
that one.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So I'm now running an event called Publish for Profit, and it's all about different aspects of how to market your book. So each time I'm actually covering a different topic to do with marketing of your book. Last week, or this week, I don't know what week I'm in, I did blog writing. Next week I am doing how to crowdfund, if you're wanting to do crowdfunding. So each time, they're about every 2 weeks, 10 days to 2 weeks. So let me know if you want to know about that too. And we do lots of sort of brainstorming within the group of different ways to market your book and get it out there. The next one is Tuesday. Tuesday night. That's what I was trying to remember. Okay. Who next? Robin. Robin is going to do the
Cup of tea. She lifted the cup, both hands slowly reaching till fingers almost touch on the opposite side. Elbows resting on table, cup within nose tip of her face. Feeling the hot steam rising, eyes begin to prickle as she thoughtfully surveys the landscape beyond. Dreamily she gazes into the middle distance and slowly, purposefully sips on the tea. This is close to heaven for her. Oblivious to me, I watch my girl and her cup of tea.
Thank you. Pamela. Pamela has returned from the sea. And hubby apparently was not allowed in the cages anymore.
Russell wasn't, no. Me. I did a little writing exercise last week because I was invited by Linda Hanley to go to the mall at West Heidelberg, and we had a little writing class, and it took me 10 minutes. So I wrote a letter to my dog and then I'd share it. Letter to Taz. Hello Taz, you're such a silly dog. Why do you have to scratch and drive me crazy with all that scratching and licking? How would you like it if I scratched all the time? I know you're handsome and adorable, but you're so annoying.
You playful miniature wolf. How would you like it if I scratched all the time? I wish you could tell me. I look into the soft, dark brown, velvet eyes of yours, but I can't read your mind. I wish you could tell me. You let me know when you want to go walkies or wee-wees, or want your tea. So why can't you let me know? I scratch my head in despair. I'd be a millionaire if I could find a way to get you to talk. Did you catch something when you sniffed a dead mouse last week? Or when you caught a blackbird who strayed into your territory? Killer. Please stop scratching and licking yourself. I'll just read you now a few excerpts from Amsterdam. Last time I was here, I read the first part. This is something to do about the dresses. Opening the second half of the show, we were dressed as horses, with the male dancers as our trainers. Each boy controlled 2 girls, pretended to whip us as they guided us around the stage. The costume was a figure-hugging, all-white jersey bodysuit with a replica of a horse head as a hat, light and comfortable to wear, but the bodysuit was a nightmare. They were cleaned every 2 weeks and returned 4 sizes smaller. Torture! We heaved and pulled and swore under our breath. Even with the help of 2 dressers, it was impossible to get into them. The kicking routine took every ounce of energy to kick at waist level. What should have been a good number to perform became a nightmare. In cute Tyrolean costumes, we were grouped together behind the operatic singer Christine Spielberg. Each costume had a different shade of green or mauve, and satin shoes were dyed to match the colour of the costume. Oh, those shoes! They trunk. We hobbled into our places on stage with a blistering pain. The New Zealand jazz number was learnt on stage at the Carey Theatre. Don Jones, a celebrated American singer, sang as we danced around him, pretending to play various musical instruments. At one section of the routine, we bent over in a circle around Don as he simulated playing a trumpet. One evening I was suffering from flatulence, trying desperately to contain it. The trumpet reached a high note. There was a split second before the entire orchestra played and Don sang. I let an uncontrollable blast go, and everyone on stage convulsed in laughter. Just a small section. We did 4 television shows there, and this is a little thing that happened during one of the numbers. 4 girls were chosen to parade immediately, immaculately groomed white puffing dogs around a circle set in black and white triangles. Mine decided it liked the middle camera, and in front of millions of viewers, sat and did its business. I waited, smiled, and escorted her away with pose and dignity.
Joy. Joy's going to read some poetry.
I'm overwhelmed with all this talent around. Oh, I forgot my glasses. So either my teeth or my glasses.
You can stand up, can't you?
Yeah. If I get time, I've got 3 poems. First one is sitting, reading on my porch. The modulated hum of traffic from afar. The waving shadows of reflected trees trickle across the page. A suspended single raindrop glitters between 2 spires of hyacinth leaves. A pot of pale cyclamen with cherub flowing wings. Heart leaves brooding protectively over new-formed buds. Imperial blue ceiling between dispersing clouds generously allows a surge of sunny warmth as a lonesome, restless bee invades my blissful solitude. Now, when my children were small, if a little animal came into their view, they would ask their father, "What's that, Daddy?" He would say, "Oh, that's an anigowopulator." So I don't know whether anybody actually knows what an anigowopulator is, but I'm going to inform you. I am an anigowopulator. I sleep on the moon in a huge white crater. I lean on a cloud and I meditate, or I toast my toes on the warm equator. I ride to Earth on an escalator to see friend Bob, a museum curator who keeps old bones and a stuffed alligator. I am an anigowopulator. Once I met an Italian waiter. He was a skillful Olympic skater. He took me along as a games spectator, happy anigowopulator. I am an anigowopulator. I barbecue chops in my incinerator and store cream buns in my refrigerator. Greedy anigowopulator. I am an anigowopulator. I have a girl and I like to date her. We'll get married and sooner or later, many little anigowopulators. That was for the children. And this is for the children. We had an unexpected visitor today. She came in on the silver beat and was nearly washed away. We found her struggling in the sink, and when her wings were dry, Ladybird, quick as a wink, flew off into the sky.
Don't forget your glasses case.
Thank you. I need a second.
Jolene is also doing a collection of poems for children. So watch this space. It's all happening here, isn't it? Liliana, are you wanting to read tonight? Yes? I'll put you on the list. Richard, Trevor, want to read? I'm not sure what Richard's going to read, but this is his book. Recently updated with a new photo and a couple of little things.
The reason Blaise didn't know what I was going to read was because I didn't know what I was going to read. With the time restrictions, I thought I'd better see whether we've got 4 minutes or 10 minutes. Choose something appropriate. So I'll do a couple of things. The first one is a poem, and the second is some prose. Candles. Silent light grow. Sorry, we'll try that again. The silent glow flickers on your face and is mirrored in your eyes. Contentment, soft-edged, settles and surrounds you in your haven from the world. The candles, like our lives, burn imperceptibly, and one by one they flicker and are gone. But they are not gone yet. They linger still. Their light endures. Their time has not yet come. Not yet. Not yet. Now, the other, I'm not sure if this is appropriate, but it's the right length. Rather than explain to you, I'll just read what it says in the book. It's called From Insult to Injury, and written in 2002, soon after the author won the gold medal in the men's 300-metre hurdles at the World Masters Games at Olympic Park in Melbourne. This is a true story. From Insult to Injury. I know writing about winning a gold medal at the World Masters Championships sounds self-indulgent, but bear with me, it's not like that. The fact is, I've got no particular ambitions to show my medal to anyone other than my grandchildren, except for one bloke. Let me paint the scene. We're back a couple of months before the games, and this particular morning I'm jogging through the leafy back blocks of Eltham to the local oval to do some training on the grass. A few hundred metres from the oval, there's a tip truck parked beside the track, with the truckie obviously having his breakfast, morning tea, lunch, or whatever you call it when you're eating a pie about 10 a.m. At a guess, I'd say he's about half my age, that is about 30, and twice my weight, that is about 160 kilos, bushy beard, blue singlet, tats, etc., and obviously doesn't have anything particularly urgent to attend to at the time. Anyway, it's a pretty quiet spot, there's no one else around, and as I jog past, I offer the usual Australian greeting. How are you, mate? Nothing. Not even a nod. Now, perhaps he was deaf and couldn't lip read, but I don't think so. What I do think is that sometimes, despite the silence, you just know there's a thought conversation going on. And in this case, it went something like this. Truckie, doddery old fool. Me, get stuffed, fat slob. Now, even if he was a mind reader, I was still going to be okay, because he couldn't get his truck to where I was going, and I knew if it came to the worst, there was no way he could catch me on foot. But I digress. A short time later, I arrived at the oval and was jogging quietly around the perimeter when, in the space of one stride, I was in mortal agony. Something had happened to my calf. I didn't know what, but was pretty sure it was career-threatening or even possibly life-threatening, as you do. Ultimately, it turned out to have been just a cramp. At the time, I couldn't walk, let alone run, and I wasn't at all sure how I was going to get home, which was about 1 kilometre away. As it was, after a bit of self-massage, I set off, doing the best I could, knowing full well I had no choice. If I didn't, I would certainly die of exposure, and my body wouldn't be found until the next time the local footy team played at home. Ultimately, of course, as I limped painfully back the way I'd come, I rounded the bend to where, only a few minutes earlier, with long, smooth strides, I'd swept past the truckie. He was still there. This time I made no attempt at greeting or even making eye contact. I didn't need to. He didn't say a word, but the mental telepathy began the instant I came into view. Ha! Told you so, silly old prick. Yes, I'd like to show him my medal.
Thanks, Richard. So, if anyone wants to buy any of these books, Richard's is 25. Help, 25 for Lex. 18. Yours is 18? Yeah. 18. Oh, she's something else special. 25. Has anyone seen this book? Have you read before at one of our...
I did once, yeah.
I have. Julie has written a book about being a bigger busted lady and having a reduction, and the story of all about that. So it's very funny. So if you want to have a look at that, feel free to have a chat with Julie. You could even read a bit, maybe. You want to read some? Shall I read a bit?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Try to go over.
Is that 79? Bloopers, most embarrassing moments. Everyone has their most embarrassing moments, and most people have quite a number. I seem to have rather a lot. There are the ones that everyone seems to know about, the ones that happen just between me and my friends, and then there were the ones I never fessed up to or let anyone see that I was embarrassed by. The English might describe them as those stiff upper lip moments when you pretend whatever it was had just never happened. People's reactions varied immensely. There were always some who were as embarrassed as I was in the moment. Then there were some who were embarrassed for me and others who were embarrassed by me. My family had to be the ones who fell into the last category. Not all of the family, by any stretch of the imagination. My fellow big-breasted family members, Grandma Edna and Auntie Hilda, for instance, loved their breasts, so they definitely weren't going to ridicule me or make me feel awkward about mine. My parents were not in the same boat. I'm sure they both wished as much as I did that they didn't exist. I wouldn't mind $1 for the number of times I was asked to get them out of the way. I would be a rather wealthy woman by now. It was usually my father who would give the disapproving looks, regardless of whoever was around at the time, which would just add to my embarrassment. My bloopers began well before I even had any of my own. At the ripe old age of 10, my prepubescent self had been wishing and hoping they would miraculously appear. I expected to just wake up one morning and they would just be there. But of course they never were. What do you do? Well, if I couldn't grow them, then I would just have to fake them. I'd heard plenty of gossip around school about the illusion of boobs, how the illusion of boobs could be created, so I thought I could pull that off. Not having any sisters meant that there was no way I could borrow the required undergarments that many others had access to, so my other option was to improvise, and surely that would be easy enough. I knew of a girl at school who did it and got away with it. So if she could do it, then why couldn't I? But as much as I wanted to have a real bust line, I was smart enough to know that I couldn't just suddenly have an instant overnight success. I realised that I would need to start off small and then I could build on it until the real thing arrived. And you're going to have to read it to find out. It's very funny. Okay, Lillian, are you ready?
I'm ready.
What are we reading tonight?
I'm continuing that story that I read last time. And I finally remembered to bring my books. Ta-da! So I'll put them there. If you're interested. So this is a story called Meeting of the Wise Women, and it's the bit that I read last week. It's about two women, Kate and Bridget. Bridget's a bit of a hippie type living in the hills, and she's considered a bit of a wise woman by her friends. And Kate makes a regular sort of homage visit to her. She's a frenetic business, home-based business sort of mum. And they're just on a walk together, chatting and catching up on their news. I don't know how you do it, Bridget says. Not very well, Kate replies. What about you? Hold on, we're not finished with you yet. I want to know more. It was just something for me. When I get there, that is. I've missed the last 3 weeks. Too busy.
Not to grow tall and lush, stunted and gargantuan, in a pot it is crushed. Its future is to live hundreds of seasons, a gardener's patient from dicotyledons. Me and my love pondered these, in a nursery still young, to us it did please. We said it would be a symbol of our love, this plant that lives centuries, yet no bigger than a dove. We took the plant home with a book to instruct, the who, what, when, to keep it small and lush. Page 1, pruning, sun and water. Page 4 to 7, when the clipping do not falter. I studied how to tend this love tree we acquired, as I am a sucker for symbols, and in the details I got mired. One afternoon I got all excited. I lifted it up from its tiny little pot, exposing the roots. I had just one shot. Prune the roots, it said, every year, so I tacked it with scissors with not one iota of fear. The very next day, when I awoke, it was to find that I should not have spoke. I should not have touched, cut or fiddled. The bonsai was dead, this is not a riddle. The symbol of mine and my man's passion had died due to overcare in the most undignified fashion. From now on I stay away from plants in a pot and put my energy into loving my husband a lot.
Thanks for that. Okay, Rebecca. Where's Rebecca? I left Rebecca to last for a reason because she's reading the continuation from last month. That's it, I'm running away.
So last month was Wednesday, and Mum had decided to go vegetarian. Now it's Thursday. I'm on the edge of my seat, red skin dribble running down my chin. Homer Simpson is just about to, and Mum marches in, switches off the TV and pulls the plug. How many times have you seen that episode? She demands. But Mum, it was just getting to the bit where... Exactly, she says. You've probably seen it a dozen times. TV is turning your brain to mush, crushing your imagination, stifling your creativity. It's tangling the pathways between your right and left hemispheres, scrambling your neurotransmitters, shorting out your synapses. She gets the TV in a headlock. Give me a hand, will you? Not likely. I sniff and dig wax from my ear. I quite like the idea of shorting out my synapses. And what's so wrong with scrambled neurotransmitters? I flick the wax off the end of my little finger. Riley, she says, either you help me carry the TV to the garage or I'll push it off the cabinet and roll it there. Coming, Mum. I leap up and hug the TV to my chest. I'm not letting this baby go dropping and rolling anywhere. We stagger with it out the door and into the garage. Will I ever see it again? I ask. Sure, when you're 18 or so. She's joking. She must be joking. Okay, Mum, I get it. Very funny. You want me to watch less TV. I'm sure we can come to some arrangement. We have come to an arrangement. When you're old enough, you can have the TV back. She smiles, a scary mother knows best smile, and goes back into the house. This is no joke. Who cares if my hemispheres are confused? I don't need imagination. I need to watch The Simpsons. Inside, Mum's humming. She never hums. I was thinking, Mum says, placing our meals on the table. Now we don't have the TV, we'll have more time together. We could play board games. I ram a piece of tofu so hard my fork comes out the other side. That would be fun, don't you think? You'd be good at Scrabble, Mum says. I grunt. Tofu has robbed me of speech. After dinner, I go up and flop on my bed. Life without TV stretches endlessly before me. It's now 6:53 p.m, 28 minutes since the fateful moment when Mum pulled the plug. Right now, my friend Aidan will be parked in front of his TV, a hulking 60-inch plasma screen. His mum wouldn't pull the plug on him. His mum's awesome. She even lets him watch TV while he's eating dinner. 7:15 news time. I can almost hear the newsreader's voice. I can see him with his permed hair and trimmed eyebrows. He'll be past the lead stories and intoning his way through the world news. Then it'll be sport. I take a shuddering breath. I'm going to miss the sports news. And then after the news, I stifle a cry, it's Doctor Who. Final episode. There's nothing for it. I've got to get to Aidan's. Come on, Piggy. I slide open the window and reach for the tree. I've done this a million times. But my hand slips and I'm going down. Suddenly a branch snags my jumper and I stop with a jerk. I try to wriggle free. Finally, I get my arms out of the sleeves and drop to the ground, setting off at a run for the bus. Sitting at the bus stop, I wish I had my jumper. It's cold and dark. I shiver, but there's no turning back. Aidan's 60-inch plasma screen is calling to me. I'll leave it there.
Thanks, Rebecca. I think everything that my kids have learnt about history is from The Simpsons. Anyone else seen every episode of The Simpsons 10 times? What do they learn about Hitler? What else?
Just everything.
Everything. Yeah, it's amazing.
Planes are bad.
Yes. That's it for the readings. How cool is that? What an eclectic bunch of readings. It's been fantastic. Please hang around and have a cuppa, more wine and cheese. Hang around, have a chat, and we hope to see you next month. Oh, the raffle. Where's my raffle tickets? Thanks much, Elaine. Glad I've got these hecklers in the front row to keep me on track. Now, last month for the raffle, I gave away a $100 gift voucher for Busybird, and Angus was the one who got it, and he said, can we redraw it, because he's already actually getting a lot of goodies from, because he's our fellow, he got the fellowship last year, and he sort of gets to come to everything for free anyway. So, has everyone got their tickets ready?
Yeah.
So this person is going to get $100, Busybird dollars, to do whatever they like with. Orange, 36. Anyone get 36? You can decide what you want to do with it. Okay, thank you. You guys are charmed, aren't you? Well done, everyone. So hang around. If not, we'll see you next time. Thank you.
That's all right.